Now listen, I have caught myself in a fair share amount of times blaming the referees in certain Chiefs games. And sometimes I can be a little outlandish. Most of the time I feel like I'm justified. But there are a lot of games where, like, for example, when we played the Chiefs back in Week 17, where it was a pretty clean officiating game. It wasn't perfect, but it was clean, and I feel like on both sides, it went even, right? So there are times where these games do go even for the Chiefs, and I know Chiefs fans, you're going to disagree with me. I think there's a lot of times where you guys get unfair calls and a lot of calls going your way. It is what it is, right? At the end of the day, that's just how it is. That's how football is. You got to win no matter what. And, well, yes, it sucks sometimes, and you might lose a Super Bowl or a championship game because of it. You just got to deal with it and don't let the refs put themselves in a position where they could, impact the game. Well, Zay Flowers, obviously after the whole situation happened, he fumbled the ball in the end zone. Fumbled the ball in the end zone, recovered by the Chiefs. He also got the taunting call. They were asking him about the refs during this game versus the Ravens. And here's what he had to say about the whole thing.
How hard is it when the penalties seem like they're kind of going one way more often?
Honestly, that's something we anticipated. We said we was going to play through it, but, you can't make the calls for the refs.
And listen, again, I want to stress this enough. The Ravens did not lose this game because of the referees. No. The refs did a really great job. The reason why the Ravens lost this game was because of the Ravens doing it to themselves. That's pretty much the best way I could put it. Because I don't want to put it all on Zay Flowers, and I think all the hate and all the anger towards Zay Flowers coming from Ravens Nation, Ravens, whatever you guys call your thing. I understand it because, it's like, wow, if he doesn't fumble that touchdown, then they would have not won the game, but they could at least have tied the game in the end. But it is what it is. He's a rookie. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to mess up. I know Joe Burrow himself has came out and talked about the taunting where, Zay Flowers got caught with taunting. That should not have been a penalty. Taunting should not have been a penalty there. 1,000%. Taunting is, in my opinion, one of the stupidest things you can call. Because it's football. You're passionate. You're happy. You're excited. You want to showboat. You want to celebrate. What you just did was amazing. And he had an amazing play before that taunting call. Obviously, that taunting call happens. In the end, it doesn't matter because obviously the fumble. But at the end of the day, it is what it is on that one. The NFL is making it very clear you cannot taunt. They had said it many, many times, many flags over the years for it. And again, like I said, even Joe Burrow said that that's bullcrap and they shouldn't have taunting in the NFL. And they shouldn't. They really shouldn't. But that's just how football is, right? Now, when it comes to this game, again, this game was not poorly officiated. There was a couple blatant missed calls against the Chiefs that should have been PI or some type of defensive penalty against the Chiefs defense in this game, and it did screw over the Ravens. It did, 100%. But then there's a lot of calls that should have been on the Ravens that were not called in this game against the Chiefs. There was a lot of holding calls. Stanley was holding at least 3 or 4 times blatantly, and the referees did not call it. So this is the type of situation where I feel like the refs let the teams play. They didn't try to impact the game. And while you might say, well, they're doing a bigger impact by not calling these calls, yes, but also I feel like they just let him go out there and just see what happens. And it is what it is at the end of the day. You cannot blame the referees for this loss. You can't. And I'm saying that coming from a Bengals fan, a fan who I feel like we've been wronged by the refs so many times. But looking back at it and really taking a time to analyze a lot of the things, sometimes as fans we do overreact, right? We do, certain times. Not all the times, but certain times we do overreact. When you look back at this game, right, and you look at all the penalties, and to Zay Flowers' point, what he's trying to say, and this is basically what I understand from what he's saying, is that, they tried to overcome the refs and they simply could not. And I still do not agree with that, because the penalties that were called, right? Again, just looking at them. Defensive holding. This was defensive holding. That was a good call. You cannot tell me that was not defensive holding. So, that was a good call. Too many men on the field. I mean, what do you want there? That's definitely too many men in the field. Unnecessary roughness, you could make a question on this one. But the point of the play was, it was 1st and 5. They told Roquan Smith, just jump off sides. That's all he was supposed to do. Instead, he ran full force, and pushed the center to the ground. That's why. Why did you go aggressive and throw the center to the ground? You were supposed to just jump off sides and give them a clean set of downs, so then you have 3 timeouts and a 2-minute warning, and then you can worry about what's next. Instead, he just pushes the center to the ground when he's supposed to just jump off sides. That's a mistake on his part, right? All right, next penalty. Deep pass, defensive holding. Again, we already talked about that. That was defensive holding. I'm not trying to see. So this is... Okay, so this is the beginning of the game, or... Yeah, this is the beginning of the game. Okay, so beginning of the game, here we go. So, defensive holding, I think that was a good call. Penalty, unnecessary roughness on Kyle Van Noy. Yeah. Roughing the passer. This one I didn't like that much. And it made sense, in all honesty. This was after the play. The guy shoved Patrick Mahomes, and Patrick Mahomes flew to the ground. I think there was no reason for the shove. Could you have gone without it? Maybe. But I don't think it was that big of a deal. Penalty on KC, offensive holding, back-to-back plays on KC. One of these actually stopping a touchdown. This offensive holding, which even then you could say was questionable, stopped an offensive touchdown. So, you took 7 points off the board from KC because of a penalty. Then you go down this list here, offensive holding, on what's called? Yeah, offensive holding on KC again. You have another penalty here, incomplete pass, penalty on John Simpson for holding. Again, I don't think that was a bad call. Zay Flowers got the taunting call. I think that's questionable. Clowney's roughing the pass call. This is actually the one where he pushed him. I'm not sure what the Broderick Washington one was. I don't remember exactly what that one was. But this was the one he pushed him and he flew back. That I don't think was I think that was a questionable roughing the pass call. Too many men on the field. That's you couldn't get someone off fast enough. Unnecessary roughness. Again, we talked about that. And that's it. And yeah, there was some questionable no calls. I will 100% agree with you, Zay. There was a questionable no calls. But at the end of the day, looking back at it, the calls that were called did not impact the game that much. Did not change the game. Did not change the impact of the game. It was a close game. So, and I know this is a game of inches, and every living thing can change every living thing. This is how football works. But I think, my personal opinion, I know we do it too. Trust me. And I think we're more justified in every way possible. You look at our games and you see like the AFC Championship game last year and you're like, oh, that's a little questionable with the 5th down. But sometimes we just got to calm down, relax, and say, it's not always the refs. It's not always the refs. That might sound like a hypocrite because I do complain about the refs a lot. But again, like I said, if you watch our games, you know we're justified. Watch our games. But it is what it is, man. At the end of the day, Ravens lost. Ravens are going home. And I've learned this lesson myself, too. Sometimes it sucks that the refs do impact the game. I do not believe they impacted this game. Sometimes it sucks that they do impact games. It's not just Chiefs games, by the way. It's not me just taking shots at the Chiefs. Sometimes they impact other games too, Chiefs fans. Not just you guys. The Dolphins-Eagles game from before last year, that was horrendous. Okay? It's not just Chiefs fans or Chiefs that get the calls all the time. But the refs do impact a lot of games and change the outcomes of a lot of games. This game was not changed by the refs. I'm sorry, it was not. Nothing dictated this game to be the referees doing anything. It is what it is. I'll see you guys next one. Peace out.